Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Line Change, the NHL betting podcast from the Action Network. My name is Michael Leboff, and joining me, as always, are Nick Martin, Tim Kalinowski, and together the three of us are going to break down a very short Wednesday night slate in the National Hockey League. 3 games on offer. Some interesting kind of ways in and out of these games. We'll start with Red Wings and Jets. Detroit is plus 140. Traveling to Winnipeg, laying minus 166 at home. The total is 6 here. The market's going to be sour on Detroit. It's been ugly. And whether like we'll joke on the show about the Patrick Kane move because we all saw this coming again. The kind of mainstream hockey media making a big fuss about where Kane's decision, knowing full well that it likely wasn't going to move the needle in the right direction for whatever team he went. But I do think it's coincidental more than anything that he joined the Red Wings and they've hit their biggest stumbling block of the season. He's not the reason they're 1-5-1 with them. They weren't playing all that great, even when they were collecting wins. They've dealt with some bodies in and out of the lineup for different reasons and are now not on stable footing. That said, the question comes down here, Nick, is this the buy low opportunity? I would have leaned towards it being no when this line was first offered. Money has come in on Winnipeg as expected. Um, at this price, it looks like a pass for me. I could honestly be talked into like a Winnipeg. Yeah, if you wanted to use them as a leg into a parlay, but it does seem like this price might creep up too high on Detroit.
Yeah, I don't mind Detroit here. You talked about the Kane thing. He got in at like the worst possible time because this Detroit team was just so ready to stop having every single shot go in the net and regress. And they're kind of just running into all of it at once. He comes on, everyone's dinged up. It makes me think of these coaches who joined their teams at the perfect time, like with the Wild and the Oil, and just got the right end of it. So I think you can buy on Detroit a little in this spot. I don't mind it. And it is going to be Brossoit and net. So some of the look ahead prices I think are okay. It just feels like it's kind of the low end of everything for Detroit right now.
Yeah, there's going to be a time to come in and buy low on this Red Wings team. I generally think the Jets are the type of team that with their structure, that their depth, it's could be tough sledding for Detroit and the Red Wings too. Like that, whoever's playing in goal for them, Husso's hurt, so I personally think they should just ride with Alex Lyon uh, as much as they could for the season. But the 3 goalie system hasn't really been working for them at all. Yeah, it's just been tough sledding for Detroit. This is a tricky one to handicap because I think you can make a pretty salient argument both ways. Tim, they're not scoring. The Red Wings, their defensive numbers they've been playing low event pretty much all season in terms of their underlying metrics. And against Winnipeg, you'd think that the Jets would be the more likely team to grind out a result.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I was looking to, like you guys said, kind of buy low in Detroit at some point, and I would have been a lot more excited to do so had Winnipeg beat Montreal in overtime. Then it just when you're kind of looking for that buy low spot, you look at if Winnipeg had rattled off 3 in a row, you're kind of like, okay, now it's a spot. You kind of get tripped up here. The Red Wings team that really needs one. And also, too, I'll be honest with the 3-game slate here. I came in to this episode looking to kind of mail it in, looking to get a scheduled loss and just not have much on these games personally. But since you two have talked, I've kind of been convinced on Detroit a little bit here, especially with Brossoit for Winnipeg and Detroit. I think they're better than they've played recently. So I think I could be convinced of Detroit in the spot because there's only 3 games and I like to bet. I have a little something every single night. So I'll probably buy on Detroit. I'll be the sucker.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's sucker either. I think looking at the prices, that's kind of the take. Like I think it's kind of that or pass. I don't know. Like
yep,
they've
yeah,
been competitive enough.
you take the number and you factor out home ice advantage or whatever, and you're looking at a plus 160 on Detroit and on neutral ice, and we love the Jets. It seems like it might get
Home
a
ice
little,
advantage for a Jets team that has a better record on the road.
yeah,
Also, I'll
yeah,
note.
yeah.
And just one more thing too. I thought that they would have that Winnipeg would have more issues scoring without Kyle Connor, and that hasn't really been the case. Velarde has stepped up in a
Velarde's
big
ridiculous.
way.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So I still sort of believe that that could be a problem. So I think if I'm going to have that take, I have to put my money where my mouth is a little bit here with a little Detroit love.
The headliner in Washington, D.C., Knicks Capitals, my Islanders. Islanders traveling on a back-to-back. Caps banged up. No Oshie. Still no Pacioretty, though he is close. No Sonny Milano, the Long Island native, missing out on this one. The Islanders will still be without three of their opening day defensemen, Mayfield, Pellick, and Polak. And they do play Tuesday night, and we are recording this on Tuesday afternoon. So if anything changes there, we apologize. But be sure to check out the app if things do change and bets come in. It will be Simeon Varlamov against his former team. The Caps, I saw the morning line rush or the morning practice lines today, Nick, and it looks like there's just like a lot of plug and play because of injuries and whatnot. And I think people who are wondering where Ovechkin's offensive production has gone, you can take a look at the roster he's playing with and maybe deduce part of it, at least part of it is the talent isn't there anymore. It's funny because the Islanders have been a distinct over team this season, as Tim noted, 18-11-1 going into that Edmonton game on Tuesday. But this game feels, because of the team that the Islanders will be playing, much like it has more ingredients towards an under and a very low event sleepy game. I think that's kind of what both teams would like to try to do for this one. But this is all pencil and paper handicapping because I think the line looks just about correct here.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet under 5.5. I think that's insane on an Isles back-to-back. And I actually really disagree about the Capitals lines. Nothing that's changed in this game is anything that matters about why they've been winning, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yep.
unfortunately, the reality is Oshie hasn't mattered. He hasn't. They want to play him. He deserves that, but he hasn't been a game changer. Like, as a Caps fan, I'm just as excited to see Miroshnichenko get a chance to play. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
there's every world that he outperforms Sonny Milano. Like, all those guys are just moving parts. None of them are anyone that moves the needle. There's
Mhm.
only a few guys that could come out of this lineup and really move the needle for me. It's basically Wilson, Strome, and then the biggest one obviously is Carlson. He's been ridiculous. He plays so many minutes. So I think if like you're gonna get into a situation eventually where there's discounted prices on the Caps because of those, maybe it'd be the time. But I also just continue to think the Caps are kind of a little overvalued anyways. So I don't love it. I kind of think it's the Islanders or pass. Honestly, it just feels like such a tough time for Washington to keep grinding out wins the way they have. But um, yeah, I really didn't have a lot on this game. It all looks just right there.
With the cap sitting at a minus 125 favorite as we look at it, I think it has a little too much Islanders back to back baked into it, honestly. I think more highly of the Islanders than this line indicates. And like I said, I know it's the back to back. So I said it a couple episodes ago, with Carolina, where I said I actually want to see how they play in the first half of this back to back. Like if the Islanders get their face kicked in by Edmonton on Tuesday night, then I'd be like looking to kind of buy them from like a bounce back perspective. And if not, then I have no problems not playing it. But I feel like the Capitals have the correct ingredients for like an Islanders get right bounce back spot if the first half of their back to back goes as so.
Yeah. And of course, the obligatory, I'm still looking. I'll still probably look to play Mike Riley props here. If the numbers
After
stay
he
long.
after he has a hat trick
Yeah,
on
exactly.
Tuesday night.
Get those bets in. Get those bets in before the hat trick against the Oilers. Yeah, I think you guys are probably right. It's probably the Islanders are probably the technically right side here, but it does seem boring league price, I guess. Seattle and LA. LA also on a back to back. The Kraken plus 145, traveling to the is it? It's still crypto.com arena. It's crypto.com arena
It's Staples Center. Come on.
Staples
Yeah.
Center, whatever you want to call it. Kings minus 175, total 6 here. Los Angeles will play David Riddick on Tuesday night against the Sharks. Phoenix Copley on LTIR. I really don't know if there's much of a difference between Riddick and Copley. I don't think you can fuss too much about that one. But that means Talbot against the Kraken. This one, like, I'd be tempted a little bit by Seattle, because I do imagine, especially if LA looks uh good against San Jose on Tuesday night, maybe a little bit more money comes in on the Kings, but kind of like everything else on the slate, the other two games, it's not all that appealing. If this game was on Tuesday night slate and there was 9 other games to choose from, I think I'd walk right past it, Nick.
Yeah, the reality of this slate is this is a bad, bad handicapping slate. Fun games, but not really. They didn't really give us anything here. I almost wonder about the over just because the Kraken have been just so on the low end of their goal scoring upside for so long. But even that is just not the dream. I was originally thinking this opening number looked really good, hoping that they would do the Rittich game Wednesday, but I think they've got the right idea here. Let him try to get in there versus San Jose and hope to give him a good team performance defensively and let him get his bearings a little bit. I didn't really have too much here either. These teams just played and it was a pretty locked down kind of game. The Kings probably could have fared better than getting into a shootout. Um, yeah, I didn't really have a lot either. The one you could maybe, if you wanted to try and do a Tatar point and see if he gets off on the right foot because they're playing him on the top line, or you could at least see how much the point moved compared to where it was with Colorado. But that's really, I really don't have a lot here.
Yeah, the Kraken are pretty. They have been etched into my do not bet list for last couple weeks. Whether I was doing it proactively or not, they're a hard team to bet on, and
Yeah.
like the number like of the Kings back to back here makes the Kraken less appetizing in terms of getting a longer number, which is like I am not jumping out of my skin to go bet on the Seattle Kraken like by any means.
Well, and the thing with the Kraken is they're kind of like a Flames in that the games, like the underlying results are close, and they do have that like they're seemingly underperforming in terms of their expected record, and they have that ability to kind of play with anyone and kind of make it a bit of a grind. Um, so it just feels like I don't want to like fade them right now in spots like this where they're probably at like the low end of their value, but maybe that's a little irrational. I don't know. I just look at something like I think this team's still capable of doing like what Calgary did to Florida last night. Like they can still
Mhm.
win games in that way, and they're probably due to do it a couple more times soon. So it's just like I don't know. They're kind of in that list for me too right now.
It's like we had these back to backs, and the Caps like catching the Islanders on the back to back, the Kraken catching the Kings on the back to back, and they're just not the Caps and the Kraken there are in the same box of like just not exciting to catch the team on the back to back because I would like to have a team that I know is capable of filling the net and can maybe just really capitalize on a team that maybe is going to be a little bit slower.
All right. Before we go, and I didn't jot this down on the rundown or anything, but I will ask it just because it is an ugly slate and there's only 3 games on it, and we've kind of just danced around these games. But let's just put it this way: if you had to pick side or total, your favorite bet on the board Wednesday night, 3 games, what would it be? I'll go first. I guess it would end up being the Islanders as a plus money underdog in Washington. Nick.
I'm close on the Isles or Detroit, but I think I'm gonna say Detroit. Yeah, they still have that offensive upside and should be a good power play. Like it's been a bit of a transitional period. We've probably seen kind of the low end of things. Uh, you take Hellebuck out. I don't know. I think I got to go with Detroit. I'll also slide in there too as I look at the schedule. We talk about these back to backs since the next episode will still kind of come out where some of the lines will probably be out early enough that this still matters. I think that Columbus could be a good bet versus Washington on Thursday. That seems like the kind of game to me where you might see some weird openers early tomorrow. So that'd be kind of what I'm keeping my eye out. I think the Blue Jackets can really kind of catch the Caps in that spot.
And it's tough that I had to bat last year with you guys going.
Oh, you could take the same one. Absolutely take the same one.
I would take Detroit, and no, I'll say it like this: if the Islanders get their teeth kicked in by Edmonton, I would bet the Islanders in a get right spot. If that does not happen, I'd take Detroit.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for obliging there. That's what I like about you two guys. Not fussy. No divas here. Mad that I went off script. We'll see you again on Thursday morning for what will be a much more exciting slate of games. Next week our schedule will be a little jumbled because of the holidays. I will sort that out on tomorrow's episode too. But until then, for Tim and Nick, I'm Michael. Thank you for listening and good luck with all your bets on Wednesday.